Hello and welcome to Clearview News. We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. In the news, President Muhammadu Buhari presents 10.33 trillion naira, proposes value-added tax of 7.5%. No more hiding place for randy teachers as Nigerians call for stiffer penalties against sexual harassment in academic institutions. Ahead of the November 16 governorship polls in Bayelsa and Kogi states, Inter-Party Advisory Council warns against hate speech and fake news. I am Prudence Okona with the details of these and more stories. President Muhammadu Buhari has presented a budget proposal of 10.33 trillion naira, representing $33.8 billion for the 2020 fiscal year to a joint session of the National Assembly. Presenting the budget, President Buhari said the 2020 budget is based on a new valued added tax rate of 7.5%. He also restated his administration's determination to restore Nigeria's budget cycle to the January-December format to allow for proper planning and implementation. Our correspondent Aniete Patrick has the details.
Recently, the Nigerian government had announced an increase in the country's value-added tax from 5% to 7.5% to generate more revenue and cater for infrastructure development, a move many will say worsen economic hardships. Tagged budget and sustaining growth and job creation, President Muhammadu Buhari's proposed 10.33 trillion naira budget gave the lion's share of 262 billion naira to the Ministry of Works and Housing. Other sectors heavily favored in the budget are the Power Ministry, which got 127 billion naira, Transportation 123 billion naira, Universal Basic Education Commission (UBEC) got 112 billion naira, Defense 100 billion naira, and Zonal Intervention Project 100 billion naira. The 2020 budget is 1.4 trillion naira higher than the 8.9 trillion naira budget of 2019. President Buhari said the 2020 budget had been designed to be a budget of fiscal consolidation to strengthen microeconomic environment, invest in critical infrastructure, human capital development, and enable institutions, especially in key job-creating sectors.
The sum of 556.7 billion naira is provided for statutory transfers in the 2020 budget and includes a 125 billion naira for the National Assembly, to be 110 billion naira for the judiciary, C 37.83 billion naira from the Northeast Development Commission, D 44.5 billion naira for the basic health care provision fund, E 111.79 billion naira for the Universal Basic Education Commission, F 80.8 billion naira for the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC), which is now supervised by the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs.
According to President Buhari, the 2020 budget is also aimed at encouraging private sector investment to complement the government's development plans, policies, and programs, and enhance social investment programs. The president also added that the expenditure estimates would include statutory transfers of 556.7 billion naira, non-debt recurrent expenditure of 4.88 trillion naira, and 2.14 trillion naira of capital expenditure, excluding the capital component of statutory transfers. He said debt services was estimated at 2.45 trillion naira, while provisional for sinking fund to retire maturing bonds issued to local contractors is 296 billion naira. President Buhari put estimated 2020 federal government revenue at 8.155 trillion naira, made up of all revenue, 2.64 trillion naira, non-all tax revenues, 1.81 trillion naira, and other revenues, 3.7 trillion naira.
We have increased the budgetary allocation to the National Human Rights Commission from 1.5 billion naira to 2.5 billion naira. This 67% increase in funding is then enable the Commission to perform its functions more effectively. The non-debt recurrent expenditure includes of 3.6 trillion naira for the personal and pension costs, an increase of 620.28 billion naira over 2019. This increase reflects the new minimum wage as well as our proposals to improve the remuneration and welfare of our police and armed forces. You will all agree that good governance, inclusive growth, and collective prosperity can only be sustained in an environment of peace and security. Our fiscal reforms shall introduce new performance management frameworks to regulate the cost to revenue ratio for government-owned enterprises, which shall come under significant scrutiny. We will grow the extraordinary revenue and cost management performance, while severe consequences will attend failures to achieve agreed revenue targets.
Already, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawal, had asked ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, to appear before committees of the Senate in October to defend their 2020 budget, while the House of Representatives said debate on the 2020 appropriations bill would commence this Wednesday. The Speaker assured Nigerians that the Ninth Assembly would implement the budget diligently and achieve the objectives of the national development for which they were intended.
In whom resides the absolute authority to make appropriations from the common treasury in service of the national interest and for the benefit of all our citizens. It also attests to the abiding partnership between the legislature and the executive, without which no meaningful national objective can be achieved. The appropriation bill that Mr. President has presented to us today is a statement of intent. The budget we enacted to law will be proof of our priorities and a reflection of the values we hold. What are those values? Integrity, accountability in managing the affairs of state, and absolute commitment to the best interests of the Nigerian people. What are our priorities? Building an economy that provides sufficient opportunity for our people to achieve the dreams they hold dear. Equipping our children with an education that prepares them for the challenges and opportunities of a rapidly changing world. Protecting the rights of our citizens and securing them from internal and external aggression. This is our commitment, and we will ensure that this commitment is reflected in the 2020 Appropriation Act.
Giving an overview of the economy in 2019, President Buhari said the economic environment remains very challenging globally. The International Monetary Fund expects the global economic recovery to slow down from 3.6% in 2018 to 3.5% in 2020. This reflects uncertainties arising from security and trade tensions, which attendant implications on commodity price volatility. Anita Patrick, reporting for Clearview Television.
And still talking budgets, Akwa Ibom State government plans to spend 597.8 billion naira for the 2020 fiscal year. Presenting the estimate to the State House of Assembly, Governor Udom Emmanuel said the budget hopes to take his administration's industrialization efforts to the next level to alleviate poverty. We have the details.
In what appears a response to critics over the delay in the composition of a new cabinet, Governor Lalong asked the
We apologize for that mix-up there. And back to that story where Akwa Ibom State government plans to spend 597.8 billion naira for the 2020 fiscal year. Presenting the estimate to the State House of Assembly, Governor Udom Emmanuel said the budget hopes to take his administration's industrialization's efforts to the next level to alleviate poverty. We have the details.
For the 2020 fiscal year, Akwa Ibom State government has earmarked the total sum of 599.8 billion naira. Of this amount, recurring expenditure is 111.2 billion naira, while capital expenditure is 369.6 billion naira. The consolidated revenue and fund charges is put at 116.9 billion naira. According to the budget estimate, the sum of 381.5 billion naira is expected as total receipts. Presenting the budget before the State House of Assembly, Governor Udom Emmanuel expressed confidence that if passed by the lawmakers, his administration will be well positioned to build more industries, attract more foreign investment, and complete various ongoing social and economic development programs that will uplift the life of the people.
The 2020 budget is predicated on an oil benchmark of $55 per barrel at a production rate of a little above 2 million barrels per day, hoping that OPEC will not cut our production. With an estimated exchange rate currently quoted from CBN at 305 naira to $1 in line with national budget benchmark projections.
The breakdown of the sectoral locations show that administration will go up 102.2 billion naira. While the economic sector is allocated 237 billion naira, the social sector got 26 billion naira. Roadworks and transport received the highest allocation of 115.8 billion naira, while law and justice got 2 billion naira. The State Commissioner for Finance is expected to give further details of the budget breakdown.
Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong has sworn in his second-term State Executive Council comprising of 23 commissioners with a call on them to work towards achieving tangible results. As our correspondent now reports, Governor Lalong urged the new appointees to get down to business in order to meet the expectations of the electorate or be prepared to be shown the way out.
In what appears a response to critics over the delay in the composition of a new cabinet, Governor Lalong has this to say.
I responded to perceived delay in appointing commissioners by explaining that I was being strategic and careful because this time I am taking full responsibility for those that will eventually be selected to serve our people.
At the swearing-in ceremony, Governor Lalong made it clear that he will drive the new cabinet hard to achieve results as he won't settle for anything less. He taxed the new commissioners on loyalty, diligence, commitment, probability, and accountability, noting that these attributes are not only crucial to the state's development plans, but strategic to the realization of the new administration three-pillar policy trusts.
Since I discourage every lobby and influence to personally select you, I am going to drive you so hard and hold you to the highest standards as you carry out your assignments.
Though the new State Executive Council is coming 4 months after the commencement of Governor Lalong's second term in office, what are the expectations of the people as the cabinet members get down to work?
It took him 6 months, but it's okay. The fact that it has taken quite some time, I don't think that would change anything.
Of the 23 newly sworn-in commissioners, 4 of them are women, a far cry from the 35% affirmative action as confirmed by Nigerian women.
A federal high court sitting in Katsina State has adjourned till 30th of October 2019 for the continue of a trial involving former Governor Ibrahim Shima in a case brought by the state government and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) over an alleged diversion of 5.7 billion naira subsidy reinvestment and empowerment program (SHOPI fund). Justice Hadiza Ashagari, who gave the adjournment date, said it was on the heels of the voluntary withdrawal of a counter affidavit motion filed by the Defense Counsel over the ability of the court having jurisdiction to entertain the case. We have more.
At the resumed sit-in after the accused and former governor Ibrahim Shema returned from his medical trip granted on the 27th of June 2019, his counsel through Elijah Kura moved for the withdrawal of an application earlier filed bordering on the court's jurisdiction to entertain the case. This was granted by the trial judge, Justice Hadiza Shagari.
So we felt that there was no point moving the motion now, since they had done some amendments at the other trial, which will have a very negative effect on the motion we filed. So we decided that we would do the motion and then let's go on to do the trial.
Responding lead counsel for the prosecution, Sam Ologorisha, said, with the voluntary withdrawal of the application, the coast is clear for the cross-examination of an outstanding defense witness to pave way for proper trial to begin.
And in the light of that circumstance, there was now the need to take a date for the trial itself to commence properly. Meanwhile, there was an outstanding witness that needs to be cross-examined.
The former governor is standing trial for alleged diversion of the Katsina Subsidiary Investment and Empowerment Program short paid fund leveled against him to the tune of 5.7 billion naira by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission EFCC while in office between 2007 and 2015. Justice Shagari therefore adjourned till the 30th of October 2019 for the continuation of the trial.
The Nigerian police force has restated its commitment to ending the spate of kidnappings, banditry, castle rustling, and other forms of criminality across the country. The Inspector General of Police Adamu Mohammed, who stated this on Wednesday in Abuja while receiving in audience the Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Maigari, said stable security is imperative for national growth. Clearview TV's Rose Aldu has more.
As expected, the meeting of the Police Affairs Minister and the top police chief centered on national security issues. The Inspector General of Police, Adamu Mohammed, who blames the high rate of criminality partly on technological advancement and inadequate number of personnel, called for the empowerment of the police for the force to meet the various security challenges.
In recognizance of these fundamental realities, that we resolve to adopt community policing model, which involves the engagement of citizens in identifying and prioritizing prevalent communal security threats as they affect their localities, and working together with the citizens towards developing and implementing solutions to the identified threats. In giving effect to this, our plan is to draw on the provision of the Police Act in relation to utilization of special constables, who in this instance will be engaged as community policing officers under the coordination of the Nigeria Police towards evolving a community-focused policing architecture. The plan is that the community policing officers shall be deployed to complement the local police and law enforcement functions within their localities by performing low-risk and non-sensitive duties. It is our firm belief that this policing architecture will free up conventional police personnel that hitherto perform such functions and enhance our manpower profile in relation to deployment to frontline operational duties.
Responding, the minister, Mohammed Maigari, pledged to push for immediate consideration of the Police Trust Fund Bill by the National Assembly. He assures that the Nigerian Police Force will receive attention to enable it to discharge its duty of protecting lives and property.
I would like to assure you that I will do my utmost and to ensure that it is improved The ministry under my watch will work tirelessly to ensure that we get the funding the police needs, and we will also inject new ideas into policing of their nation. I have noted with concern the poor state of our barracks, as well as the absence of the state-of-the-art equipment and proper welfare package to cater for the police force of our drill. The road in the police training schools and the institutions across the nation require the declaration of a state of emergency to return the institution to the first-class police training institutions that can favorably compete with any police training academy across the globe. As daunting as the challenges are, the government has put in place mechanisms to redress the issue. That is why the President assented to the bill establishing the Nigeria Police Trust Fund.
While the Nigerian Police Force awaits the passage of the trust fund expected to guarantee it better funding, its high command says it has resolved to adopt community policing to help respond to distress situations in local communities and curtail the spate of insecurity in the country. Rose Audu, reporting for Clearview Television.
Nigeria's Mines and Steel Development Ministry says it will now pay greater attention to promoting the mining business in Nigeria to attract the right investment in the sector. The minister, Lamileko Adegbite, stated this at a news briefing this Tuesday in Abuja ahead of the 4th annual mining week scheduled for October 14th to October 16th in the nation's capital. Clearview TV's Rose Aldo has more.
Briefing newsmen, the minister says though the mining business takes time to grow, the ministry will do everything possible to ensure that the mining sector under his watch receives the necessary push to surpass other sectors, especially the oil and gas sector. Adegbite believes that such impetus is required to bring about rapid growth of the Nigerian economy.
If we get this right, we can surpass the earnings from oil and gas. I must say on that note that mining is not an immediate thing. You know, you need to put in a lot of inputs needs to go in, and then of course we begin to realize the gains thereafter. So, but then the journey of 1,000 miles starts from the first step. We've started. We must acknowledge people who have been here before us, but then we intend to deepen it and begin so that we accelerate the pace so that Nigeria could begin to enjoy the fruits of the mining sector.
Also, at the pre-annual event briefing was the President Miners Association of Nigeria, Kabiru Kankara, who called on well-meaning Nigerians to participate in efforts aimed at harnessing opportunities to tackle challenges in the nation's mining sector.
We make bold to affirm that the sector is capable of giving alternative revenue to the government, almost equivalent or more than what oil and gas sector is giving. It is also capable of alleviating poverty among the peasant population and providing massive raw materials for other sectors.
On the essence of the pre-conference briefing, the chairman organizing committee, Shehu Sani, said the Miners Association is determined to ensure that the Mining Week celebration in Nigeria is captured in international calendar and called for the cooperation of all relevant actors in this regard.
And we want to assure you, honourable ministers, that with the support from the ministry, the ambition to have an international mining week, to have a conference that will be captured in the international mining calendar is realizable.
shedding more light on their expectation of the upcoming Mining Week. Representatives of IPAD and PwC said they intend to use the opportunity to offer constructive criticisms and proffer solutions, as well as strategies needed for jumpstarting the mining sector in Nigeria to achieve desired results.
Mining professionals will benefit directly from attending the Nigeria Mining Week. It is an all-encompassing business-to-business event and will offer the best one-stop business development avenue to the sector. From the increased business conducted at the event, it is foreseen that the contribution of the sector will tend to increase the economic development of the country.
It is clear that Nigeria seeks an alternative revenue source, and we all know that mining can definitely be one of those alternative revenue sources. And we have the desire to contribute to the growth of the sector.
Since the debut of the annual Mining Week in Nigeria in 2016, there has been a steady growth in contents, deliveries, and participation to the admiration of both local and foreign interests in the global mining ecosystem. Rose Audu, reporting for Clearview Television.
And moving ahead, a cross-section of Nigerians residing in Abuja, the nation's capital, reacted to the humorous sexual scandal in Nigerian institutions of learning.
The BBC Africa I Sex for Admission video is not the first time lecturers are being accused of soliciting sex to help female students. The story is the same in virtually all citadel's of learning. For instance, in a recorded audio conversation between a senior lecturer in the Department of Accounting at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Professor Richard Akindele and Monica Osage, a postgraduate student in business administration. Akindele was heard demanding to have sex with Monica 5 times before he would upgrade her score from 33% to a percentage of her choice. Also, Osun State University, Osogbo, a Rwanda senior lecturer in the Department of Languages and Linguistics, Dr. Olabode Ajinei, was also caught on video having sex in a hotel room with one of his female students, identified as Mercy Ikwe. An associate professor of economics in the Lagos State University, LASU, Dr. Osun Kame Adumbumi, was allegedly caught sexually assaulting an unidentified female undergraduate student of his department. In a 52-minute video, Dr. Boniface Igbenehu, a lecturer of the Faculty of Arts in Unilag, the current sub-dean and the head pastor of Foursquare Church, was heard in one of the recorded videos telling an undercover BBC reporter who had disguised as a 17-year-old admission seeker to switch off the light so he could kiss her.
Okay, I've heard you, sir. Do I want you to kiss me? No, I'm not talking about you kissing me. I'm talking.
These and more are some of the sex scandals in Nigerian institutions of learning. What is the way out to remedying this problem in Nigerian institutions? Some Nigerians in Abuja loud their voice.
The only way to stop it is to sensitize our students that they should work hard, they should read hard. There's no shortcut to success.
The students themselves, I think it is high time they sit down and study. Because if you really study hard and you know what you're doing, there's no need for you to go and beg your lecturers. But whereby you did not do well, and you now go and beg for favors from these lecturers, that's when they come up with all this trash.
If the law enforcement agencies of this country, particularly the police, if they do their jobs well, I don't think this thing will continue because it has been there for a very long time. And it is now, degenerating to a level that is unbearable, to the extent that even primary and secondary school students. So if the enforcement of the rules, the laws we have in this country, if it is strong, obviously there will be deterrent.
Oh, the only solution, any lecturer pound of this matter, the only solution is dismissing, that's all.
Some of them demand that any lecturer caught in the act should be sanctioned.
There should be sanctions on erring lecturers. Any lecturer that is found guilty, there should be punishments.
The lecturers that are caught in the act should be severely punished to serve as a deterrent to others.
Any lecturer found them wanting, they should dismiss him and disgrace him in the as they are doing now. They should not stop doing it so that it will put some people in check. Because there are many there, not only the one we are seeing now, there are many there. If we put them in check, but if they don't discipline this one and make it a scapegoat, people will continue to have such a similar experience.
But won't the lecturer now be favoring her?
Yeah, of course, now that is the benefit. There's something that doesn't have benefit.
But that one is not fair now.
Well, not fair, sir.
As in, you will not be passing her.
We pass her very well.
That means it's not good now. Because the people that have read. Okay, what about the boys? What about boys that cannot date anybody? They don't have anybody that will be favoring them like that.
It's not free for the girl now. She's not paying for it.
Paying for it with
her body. There's nothing good for it. She's paying for it with her body. So.
Some are of the opinion that laws should be put in place to tackle the menace.
The government should implement law, serious law, to punish the erring lecturers. Punishable law that any lecturer that is involved in that such act should be first of all dismissed and sent to prison.
I want to use this platform to call for special law, education law, special law that will address issues that pertains to education generally. Second to that is the Child Rights Act. The Child Rights Act should be invigorated. It should be domesticated into schools.
Joy Esekweyi reporting for Clearview Television.
And as more reactions trail, the Sex for Grades documentary by the BBC, First Lady Aisha Buhari has called for urgent action to address sexual harassment against students in Nigerian schools. She made the call during the exclusive screening of the documentary on Monday night in Lagos. The First Lady lamented that the issue of sexual harassment against women was not unique to universities, but has become prevalent in the society, including religious settings. Aisha Buhari, who was represented by Aisha Rimi, a lawyer, condemned sexual harassment against students, saying it is unacceptable as the nation's educational system had suffered many setbacks that had hindered its development. She said the unacceptable practice simply has to change, as it is no longer enough to sweep allegations under the carpet or force victims to withdraw the allegations, victimize or stigmatize them. First Lady noted that though there are laws to protect victims of sexual harassment and abuse, such laws cannot operate except victims speak out to get justice. She advised women that their dignity and self-respect should outweigh whatever challenge they face, stating her support to ensure a sexual abuse-free society for women. And the University of Lagos has announced the shutdown of the cold room where lecturers reportedly harass students sexually. The Principal Assistant Registrar Communications Unit of the university, Taiwo Loyede, said the so-called cold room is a function room that may have been abused because this is a deviation from the purpose for which it was created, which includes meetings, seminars, events, etc. Oloyede also confirmed that Dr. Benegu had been suspended. A cold room was mentioned by a lecturer of the school, Boniface Benegu, who was caught on video sexually harassing an undercover journalist who posed as an admission seeker. Benegu, in the BBC Undercover documentary, described the secret place where lecturers meet to touch students' breasts at the staff club of the university. You're watching Clearview Television News. We'll be back after this timeout. Welcome back. And ahead of the November 16th governorship elections in Kogi and Bayelsa State, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, is appealing to political parties through its recently reviewed Code of Conduct to comply with all electoral laws, rules, and regulations, as well as INEC's guidelines on electioneering processes in Nigeria to ensure free, fair, and credible elections. Addressing the media this Wednesday in Abuja, IPAC President Peter Ames says the council recognizes a strong need to intervene and educate the public on the importance of avoiding misinformation, hate speech, and all forms of deliberate dissemination of fake news before, during, and after the forthcoming gubernatorial elections in Bayelsa and Kogi states. Our correspondent Aniete Patrick has more.
Rising from the second executive meeting of the 9th National Executive Committee of the Inter-Party Advisory Council of Nigeria, IPAC, Ahmed called on all political parties, candidates, INEC, civil society groups, election observer groups, the media, the electorate, and other stakeholders directly involved in the elections scheduled to hold on 16th November 2019 to ensure that participants from all political parties are given a level playing ground to exercise their franchise. He reminded all of their collective responsibility to disseminate correct information at all times.
If we do not adequately educate the coming generation in all the rural areas and having the same quality, the same opportunity to quality education, not just those in cosmopolitan and metropolitan centers. So for us, the local government administration as it currently exists, we want it abolished. We want a complete structure, new structure, a complete financial structure, a complete electoral structure created for it. If people are complaining that we run a federal system, that if you give the state election to INEC, it will now become a federal something and state no longer have a federating unit to control. We can also create a different body for the conduct of elections in Nigeria, for local government alone. And INEC can do all the election alone. There are two things we are pursuing, which we will put a bill before the National Assembly through our legal department. That one, we do not want INEC to carry so much burden. INEC must be unbundled, as stated in the Waste Panel report, and also stated in Lemu report, also stated by the Kenan Amani report, and stated by the National CONFA. We must have a different way INEC work so that it can represent all our wishes and all our aspirations. And we also see the reason why we do not support state police is because that the governors had made use of local government election in a way that does not favor multi-party democracy.
He added that IPAC condemns in strong terms all forms of hate speech and dissemination of fake information during and after campaigns, and even after the elections are held, as it is expedient to note that the damage caused by hate speech affects the nation's political system and national unity, noting that it adversely affects the continued peaceful coexistence of the country.
Hate speech, deliberate misinformation, and disinformation of fake news are some of the factors which affect the fairness of our electionary processes in Nigeria. INEC condemns in strong terms all forms of hate speech and disinformation of fake information during and after campaigns, and even after the elections are held. It is expedient to note that the damage caused by hate speech affects our political system and our national unity adversely, affecting our continued peaceful coexistence as a nation.
IPAC notes that it has always been on the front line of campaign against hate speech in all elections in Nigeria and assures Nigerians it will continue to work closely with INEC, the media agencies, civil society groups, all political parties, and stakeholders in the coming elections to foster adequate compliance of political parties, candidates, and their supporters to ensure that campaign statements that can cause violence, disintegration, and electoral disinformation are not made while campaigning. Anita Patrick, reporting for Clearview Television.
And in line with Section 20 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) will on Monday, 14th October 2019, officially publish the register of voters and present saying to all the political parties sponsoring candidates for Bayelsa and Kogi governorship elections scheduled for 16th November 2019. INEC's National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, says the event will take place at the Commission's offices in Yanagua for Bayelsa State and Lokoja for Kogi State, and will be presided over by the supervising national commissioners and assisted by the resident electoral commissioners of the respective states. According to Okoye, from INEX records, a total of 45 political parties will take part in the governorship election in Bayelsa State, while 23 will contest in Kogi State, being those who are sponsoring validly nominated candidates. He noted that as the Commission continues the countdown to the elections in the two states, the Commission wishes to remind political parties that 2nd November 2019 is the last day for submission of names of polling agents for the election to the federal electoral officers in the two states, while 14th November 2019 is the last day for campaigns. They appeal to all candidates to avoid comments capable of inciting violence and instilling fear during their campaigns. And experts and key players in the forestry subsector of the Nigerian economy are now meeting in Abuja, the nation's capital, to evolve better strategies for realizing the country's afforestation policy and programs. As Clearview TV's Joyce Ekweyi now tells us, they are meeting under the auspices of the Forest Association of Nigeria, FAN, whose 41st annual conference opened this Tuesday.
Besides providing habitats for animals and livelihoods for humans, forests also offer watershed protection, prevent soil erosion, and mitigate climate change. Yet, despite man's dependence on forests, the forests are fast disappearing due to uncontrollable human activities. This year's annual conference, with the theme Sustainable Development Goals through appropriate forest management strategies, is therefore apite, as attention is being focused on issues affecting Nigeria's afforestation policy and programs. Addressing the opening session, the Minister of Environment, Dr. Mohammed Mahmoud, challenged the Forest Association of Nigeria to create needed awareness on the importance of keeping the environment healthy, noting that the environment is life and that the forest is the breath of life and a source of sustainable development. The minister assured the Association of Government commitment towards providing necessary support for it to achieve its goals.
Environment is life, but our forest is what gives breath to life. I would encourage the association to reach out to all of its fellows and members to grow its ranks so as to reach its optimal potential in influencing policies and programs related to sustainable forest management at all levels of government as well as in the private sector. I wish to assure FAN of government commitment towards providing necessary support to enable it achieve its objectives. As I honestly look forward to seeing the organization takes its rightful place in national development.
To chart a way forward, the President Forest Association of Nigeria, Ahmad Ibrahim, called on government at all levels and stakeholders to properly engage the association in the task of protecting the environment by avoiding deforestation and bush burning.
We expect other state governments and more importantly the federal government to look in so that we can jointly combat the deterioration impact of continued deforestation of the remains of our forests and to be involved in massive deforestation, afforestation, and forest management programs in order to keep abreast of targets and goals of the SDGs.
The keynote speaker, the Emir of Lafia, His Royal Highness Ibrahim Usman Jubrin, expressed worry that despite efforts by government and other bodies to ensure a better environment, there are still challenges befalling the environment. The Emir therefore stressed the need for better education of rural dwellers on the importance of forestry to life and the national economy.
Despite the government and relevant stakeholders' effort at redirecting all schedules to pursue the attainment of the SDGs, there still exist many observable gaps. For instance, the environmental matters are yet to be added under the concurrent list as the challenge worsens. This year alone, Nigeria was hit by another flood similar to the 2012 one, when the country was worst hit. We lose scores of lives, produce and houses have been submerged with properties worth millions destroyed and many displaced by constant area flooding. We urge on elites and professionals in designing projects meant for the locals. They should always be carried along.
As the 5-day annual conference goes into a technical session, key issues that will occupy the attention of experts and industry players are the nexus between forest ecosystem services and health, urban forestry, as well as global partnership for sustainable forest management, amongst others. Joy Ezekwuyu, reporting for Clearview Television.
And on the foreign scene, Montgomery County in the state of Alabama, United States, has elected Stephen Reed its first black mayor almost 200 years after the majority black city was incorporated. 45-year-old Reed, a probate judge, captured about 67% of the votes in the non-partisan runoff election. He defeated David Woods, a white TV station owner, after they advanced from a 12-person election in August. 10 of those candidates were black, and Reed received 42% of the vote. Accepting his victory, Reed said, "This election has never been about me. This election has never been about just my ideas. It's been about all the hopes and dreams that we have as individuals and collectively in the city." Historically, Montgomery, which was incorporated on December 3rd, 1819, has long been a central part of the United States' quote, sordid racial history. It was the first capital of the Confederate States of America in 1861 and is home to the church where the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King planned the Montgomery bus boycott, which made Rosa Parks a household name. It's a city of about 200,000 people, 60% of whom are African Americans. Reed graduated from Morehouse, a historically black college in Atlanta, earned an MBA from Vanderbilt, and became the first black probate judge in Montgomery County. His father, Joe Reed, has been the longtime leader of the Black Caucus of the state Democratic Party. And churches in Zimbabwe have called for the suspension of all electoral activities in the country for 7 years in order to build trust. The Zimbabwean heads of Christian denominations had approached leading political figures in the country, including President Emmerson Mnangagwa and opposition leader Nelson Chamisa, with a proposal to suspend electoral processes in Zimbabwe for 7 years. In a statement signed by the group's executive secretary, Reverend Kenneth Mutata, the body said the church is calling for a Sabbath on political contestation in Zimbabwe to allow for the rebuilding of trust and confidence. Mutata said the church leaders are proposing a national 7-year Sabbath for the purposes of establishing an emergency recovery mechanism to address the dire national situation for the most vulnerable communities, rebuilding trust and confidence by healing all the hurts of the past. The Sabbath proposal entails the suspension of the constitutional provision on elections, but such a deficiency will be redressed through a national referendum. The national referendum question would seek to ascertain from the people whether they agree with a 7-year suspension of all political contestation for the sake of rebuilding the nation. Zimbabwe is facing a deepening socio-economic crisis. You're watching Clearview Television. News up next is sports.
And the Jamaican juggernaut scores his first goal for a professional side. And
in sports, a former assistant coach of the Super Falcons coach Mansour Abdullahi has blamed the failure of the senior women's national team to qualify for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic on what he described as nonchalant attitude of the present Nigeria Football Federation to female football. The former Warri Wolves coach said it is worrisome that under the present leadership of the NFF, the Super Falcons have twice failed to qualify for the Olympics. He questioned the decision of the NFF to draft in coach Christopher Tanjuma to lead the Super Falcons in the Olympics qualifiers when the current assistant coach of the team, Justin Madugu, would have done a better job. Abdullahi also said due to the indifference of the NFF to female football, there will soon be death of qualified players in the Super Falcons. And 25 players will today fly out to Brazil ahead of the 2019 Under-17 World Cup after 33 of them underwent the mandatory MRI age test to determine their eligibility for the tournament. Coach Manu Garba had wanted to travel with at least 30 players to Sao Paulo for a training camp ahead of the World Cup. The coaches also proposed that cash-strapped NFF conduct the age test for the 50 players on the provisional squad submitted to FIFA for the World Cup. The 25 players headed for Brazil are made up mainly by the squad who recently featured at the UEFA CAF Invitational Tournament in Turkey, where they won 2 matches and lost to Senegal. Coach Manu will be expected to submit a final 21-man squad for the World Cup by October 16, which will be 10 days before the big kickoff in Brazil. The Eaglets opened their World Cup campaign against Hungary. And the Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) have announced that Torino defender Ola Aina will miss Saturday's friendly against Brazil on account of a domestic accident. After missing out on last year's World Cup in Russia, the former Chelsea fullback worked his way back to the Super Eagles' first team at the recent AFCON in Egypt. Aina will now be the third player to withdraw from the friendly against the 5-time world champions in Singapore. CD Leganese defender Kenneth Omero and Bodex winger Samuel Kalu have both pulled out of the game due to injury. They have been replaced by Tyrone Ebuehi, Benifaka, and Viv Solomon Octabo, CSK Sofia. In the meantime, a batch of the squad for the Brazil clash, led by coach Genotro, is due to arrive Singapore later Thursday after their departure from Paris. Ramon Aziz, Grenada CF, William Ekong, Udinese, Wilfred Ndidi, Leicester City, Samuel Chikwueze, and others. And Moses Simon of Nantes celebrates his goal during the League One match between Amiens and Nantes on August 24, 2019 in Amiens, France. FC Nantes manager Christopher Gukov has heaped praises on Super Eagle winger Moses Simon following his impressive form for the side in League One. Simon hits the winner for Nantes over the weekend to help the club climb to second spot on log. Gukov described the Nigerian, who is on loan from Levante, as a complete player. FC Nantes presently occupies the second position on the log in the French League One, thanks to Moses' contributions. And that will be all, but before we go, a look at our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari has presented the 2020 budget of 10.33 trillion naira with proposal for value-added tax of 7.5% to a joint session of the National Assembly. Nigerians have called for stiffer penalties against sexual harassment in academic institutions as a BBC documentary exposing the evil practice among university teachers continue to generate angry reactions. And ahead of the November 16 governorship polls in Bayelsa and Kogi states, the Inter-Party Advisory Council has warned against hate speech and fake news by all parties and their supporters. And that's the news. Remember that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel via Clearview TV, like us on Facebook via Clearview Television, follow us on Twitter at Clearview Online, follow us on Instagram at ClearviewTV_NG. You can also watch Clearview TV on Night Comsat with any free-to-air decoder. For details, contact your local installer. I'm Prudence Okona, and thanks for watching.